Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, here with the co-host
TGO.
CGO. Today's the 13th of March, 2026, Friday the 13th. And today we are talking about Premier League games this weekend. There are 10 games between tomorrow at 11 a.m. and Monday at 4 p.m. We have Burnley, Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton, Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, Man City, Crystal Palace, Leeds, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, um, Liverpool versus Tottenham, and Brentford versus Wolves. In obviously the team that I'm going to support. A couple of interesting matchups here. Uh, Obviously Chelsea going for Champions League, Aston Villa, Manchester City, both or Manchester United, both in that Champions League race. Liverpool trying to get in, hosting Tottenham now in a relegation race, and then Nottingham Forest, which would in a game that I hope that they're probably thinking is one of the more winnable games at home versus Fulham, who I've said is on the beach already. George, which of these games do you feel like is most consequential just towards the end of the season?
Well, it depends on where we are, where what actually we are really looking at. If you look at the game between Manchester United and Aston Villa, it's a very important game because remember both sides both have the same points, 51 points. Manchester United has a plus 11 goal difference, while Aston Villa, I think theirs is about plus 4. And Aston Villa, I think they've lost their last two games. They would like to bounce back. Manchester United lost their first game, I think, since Michael Carrick took over. That was against Newcastle United. So both sides would like to get victory so that at least they can uh, try to secure their Champions League spot. As you can see, it's becoming a bit dicey because the difference between them and Chelsea and Liverpool, I think it's about 3 points. They have 51 points. Liverpool and Chelsea have 48 points. So what it means is if any of them loses their game and then either of Chelsea and Liverpool wins their game, what it means is that there's that possibility that the team that lost will drop from the position they are on the table. So the Aston Villa Manchester United game at Old Trafford is going to be a make or my encounter. Very important that both sides tries to get a win. And
All
then
right, so
another game.
George, between Arsenal, Everton, and West Ham, Man City, which of these like two teams in the title race do you feel like are most likely to drop points this weekend? Arsenal are at home against a stronger team in Everton, but Man City is away. That they play what is probably a weaker team in West Ham, but a team that also has West Ham has a lot more to play, in my opinion, to play for than Everton. So, what? Yeah, in your opinion, what? Who do you think has more likely to drop points in the title race?
If you ask me, Manchester City might likely drop a point against West Ham because West Ham are really fighting very hard to escape relegation. Remember, they are just 1 point away from Tottenham. Tottenham has 29 points. Nottingham Forest has 28. West Ham has 28 points. So a win for them in that game will most likely take them out of the relegation zone if Tottenham loses to Liverpool, which is most likely to happen because Tottenham hasn't won any game this year. So there's that high chance that Liverpool is a team also fighting to make the top four. There's that high chance Liverpool will be more motivated to push to get victory against
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham. Tottenham has not been too great this season, and they have lots of players that are out of this game. Lots of players will be out from the reports we are getting. So that would definitely have great impact on their performance in the match against Liverpool at Anfield. So
Yeah.
West Ham has that chance of trying to get a win or maybe a draw against Manchester City. So I feel Manchester City is that team that might likely drop points. Arsenal is playing
Interesting.
at home, and Everton, I would say they have. I don't see them going to Emirates to defeat Arsenal. That would be very difficult. If it
Yeah.
happens, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, we'll see a couple other games in the relegation race. Like Leeds are probably still in that race. They're going away to West Ham, Crystal Palace team that drew midweek in to a Cypriot team. We have Obviously, Wolves are probably already relegated. They're playing Brentford. Bournemouth and are going to Burnley, who again Burnley is probably out of that relegation race as well. Do you feel like this is a chance for Leeds United to pick up points or Tottenham? You already said Tottenham won't, but any chance Leeds United pick up points, George?
Um, that might be because Crystal Palace is a very good team. Um, it can go either way because Leeds United have been doing well also. Crystal Palace, they've not been too consistent. So if they turn up, they might win. But we shouldn't rule out the chance of Leeds United going there to get a win. So it can go either way. Any of the two teams can win that game. That's what I feel.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. What do you think, George, is the most boring game of the weekend? Most inconsequential game?
I don't know. I always tell you, I don't see any game as boring when it comes to the Premier League because
Sure.
eh, every team wants to win. So I won't say this game is boring or that game is uh, the most interesting. Most Premier League games are very interesting games to watch. So I don't know if I have anyone, except maybe you want to say, can we say maybe Sunderland and Brighton? Maybe that might be a game because I don't think there's any consequence. There will be any consequences of maybe either of the team winning or losing. Uh,
Yeah, I
so
agree. I think tomorrow's 11 o'clock slate of games, and this is 11 o'clock because the clocks changed in America and they changed in the UK in another week. The 11 o'clock slate of games, which is Burnley hosting Bournemouth, Sunderland hosting Brighton, aren't super exciting for me. I will watch and I will love it, but it is not for me. It's one of the weaker slates of games that I've seen, just because again I feel like all four of those teams need a huge set of unlikely results to qualify for Europe in the case of Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton, or not get relegated in the case of Burnley. But I've been impressed with Burnley just the last couple of weeks. I know that um, I've been very critical of Scott Parker, but I think that this team is fighting, and I think they're better than most of the relegated teams the last couple of years. So it should be interesting. George, what about Chelsea versus Newcastle? I know that Chelsea did not perform well midweek. They've kind of gone on a rough patch under Rosenier. Do you feel like this is an opportunity to bounce back, or do you feel like this squeeze in between two very difficult PSG games? This is another game, just another drop in the bucket in terms of difficult matches for them.
they don't have a choice because the fans are very angry with the performance against PSG. How they were able, they lost concentration in the last 15 minutes of that game, and then considered the very ridiculous goals that made them lose 5 goals to 2. That was not a good one. So the game against Newcastle is a game they must use to bounce back, try to make the fans happy. Even though they have a game against PSG on Tuesday, but this game is a very important game because there is no guarantee that they will defeat PSG or knock PSG out of the Champions League because now they have 3 goals deficit. So it's better you try to secure your spot in the top 4 so that you can play Champions League next season because not going to the Champions League is going to have a lot of negative impact on the club. Some players might like to leave because there are rumors that players like Enzo Fernandez might leave Chelsea if they don't secure a Champions League spot.
Enzo
So
Fernandez is unsellable because he's on a 9-year contract. He was bought for $100 million. He's on he's on mid wages, but probably still underpaid if you consider him one of the best midfielders in the league. You need to spend way more than he's worth in order to buy him because he's on such a long contract and at relatively low wages to his skill levels. He can want to leave all he wants until I don't think Real Madrid's going to pay 180 million for him, and that's what Chelsea would need to let him go. A 25-year-old player on who has 7 years left on his contract, tough beans.
what I don't think if he wants to leave, If I believe if Real Madrid comes with maybe 120 million pounds,
They won't.
Chelsea, no, because Chelsea bought him less than that. Chelsea
Why
bought him
would Real
less.
Madrid come for 120? I don't think Enzo Fernandez is worth. I think there's other talents in the world you can get for that. I think if and when players eventually want to leave Chelsea, there will be some sort of breaking point because they have 5 or 6 players in this situation where they're on very long term contracts, and the wages are relatively low and stable, and obviously wages in the Premier League go up every year, probably more than the value of their contracts, and they were also bought for quite a bit of sum of money. So if they do outplay those contracts, like and they want to leave, other teams coming in have to pay this crazy sum in order for Chelsea to release them from their contracts, and it's going to be very difficult to manage that as a club. Especially the locker room aspect of that. I think that'll be really interesting to see if we do see an Enzo Fernandez, a Cole Palmer, any of these players on 8, 9, 10 year contracts. To decide to leave. They want to leave.
Okay, but Joe, let me just ask you a question regarding this game. Remember, Newcastle also has a game in the Champions League against Barcelona. If you look at it critically, you will see that a Newcastle team might be more hopeful of maybe moving to the next stage of the Champions League because their game against Barcelona ended in a 1-1 draw. So I think they even stand more chances of going to the next stage if they can go to Nou Camp.
In the context of things, I do feel like Chelsea have almost as good of a chance as Newcastle because their second leg's at home, right? Is it not?
No, Chelsea is playing at home to PSG, while Newcastle will be playing away to
Right.
Barcelona. Yeah.
Barcelona is a much different beast, home and away. And Chelsea is playing at home in the second leg. And honestly, Chelsea lost that match because of discipline and youth, not and experience, and they can win a match on talent. And I feel like in a one-off match, Chelsea is capable of playing here. They're also capable of playing here. Like I said, very high floor, very low ceiling. Or sorry, very high ceiling, very low floor. And if they perform well, I don't think that will impact it. I do feel like tomorrow's match being at home will help Chelsea a lot. I'm very curious as to see will they which Chelsea will show up. Will it be the disciplined Chelsea that can beat anybody, or will it be the undisciplined Chelsea that can lose to anybody?
So the question I wanted to ask you is, since Newcastle will be playing against Barcelona and Chelsea will be playing against PSG, will that be a kind of, will their mind be divided as they play each other tomorrow? Also, as they prepare ahead of the Champions League games, they'll be playing on Tuesday and Wednesday. You think that that's going to impact on this game?
I mean, of course, I think mentally, I think Newcastle is in a better position mentally to separate that mentally. I feel like the impacts are more physical though. And I say Newcastle is in a better position mentally because they're older and more mature players. But I do feel like there's obviously physical impacts that are more important than the mentality impact that these players would hear. But I've never been in that situation, so I don't know.
Will they
We'll
be,
see.
will both teams be resting players tomorrow? Do you think any of them will be resting players? Or which of them is most likely to rest players tomorrow?
I feel like outside of players specifically recovering from injuries, you don't rest players. You're not going to rest players for a game like this, I should say, because just again, unless the guy's coming specifically has a hamstring at risk or something like that, like this is the type of game that is the business end of the season. Newcastle has the opportunity to be like, you know what, we don't care about qualifying for Europe via league position. Let's rest all of our. Newcastle has the opportunity, but they're not going to. I don't feel like they're going to. I feel like their strongest couple players are their midfield, and their midfield is pretty consistent all season in terms of who plays when healthy. So I think it'll be good. I think Gordon plays when healthy. Waltamata plays when healthy. They have a lot of talented players around the pitch. So it'll be interesting. Chelsea. Again, I don't think that they'll rest players, but we'll see. All right, George, let me close out with their standard question. Number one, out of the two title contenders, who do you think is more likely to drop points? Is that Arsenal at home versus Everton? Is that Man City away versus West Ham? Out of the couple teams in the relegation battle, who is most likely to drop points? There are 4 teams in that relegation battle. That's Leeds, who are playing away at Crystal Palace. That's Nottingham Forest, who are playing at home against Fulham. That's Tottenham, who are playing away against Liverpool. And then West Ham is playing at home against Man City. Which of those four teams in that relegation race is most likely to drop points or to win points? Do you think Tottenham is going to end this match day in the relegation zone? I feel like it's very likely, personally. I do see Nottingham Forest picking up points. I don't know about Man City. Who wins Chelsea Newcastle? And does Chelsea or Newcastle rest players? And which of the four teams vying for three Champions League spots is going to come out this match day at the weakest position? Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for listening.